Nah, you was finna show defense, right? Yeah, you was finna show defense, and you was finna show them big boys moving them boys out of the way.
Yes, sir.
That's what Detroit does way better than the Packers, right? And I'm Packers through and through. But Detroit, they are a physical football team. So for me, the biggest concern is the defense. Can you stop the Detroit Lions? The Detroit Lions are going to run this football downhill, and they are going to play action pass. And one of the toughest guys to guard in the world in the slot with a four-way go. In the world, if you don't know what I mean, with a four-way go, he could go right, he could stop, he could go left, he could go deep. He is tough to guard, St. Brown in that slot. And Jared Goff, when he is on schedule, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and they're able to run this ball, this Detroit Lions team is hard to stop. So for me, my biggest concern is the Niners defense, because the best part about the Detroit Lions football team is their offense. So no, it's not Brock Purdy. It's all about this Niners defense. Can they slow down the Detroit Lions?
Excuse me. Cranking up.
Oh,
Cranking up. We gotta get it rolling. Get it rolling. Gotta get it hot for this weekend. How are we talking about anybody other than the quarterback? It's Jared Goff, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's never been outplayed except for 3 times.
3 times.
We just talked about Lamar Jackson against Patrick Mahomes. We talk about Patrick Mahomes versus that Ravens defense. We talked about the quarterbacks. Of course it's Brock Purdy. Of course it's Brock Purdy. Why would it not be your quarterback? We're worried about how Jared Goff is going to play against this Niners defense, correct? That should be a concern, right?
Yeah. But
What do you mean, yeah?
no, because
Yes,
I'm saying Brock Purdy threw 2 interceptions to lose the game against the Vikings, and we came up here talking Steve Wilkes.
I hear you. We're going to blame someone else other than Brock Purdy, unless Brock Purdy has a game like he did against the Ravens where there's just nowhere else to go. It should be on the quarterback. That's what this league is about. This is what the marquee is. We're not going to show the Niners defensive tackles on the graphics this weekend. It's going to be Brock Purdy and it's going to be Jared Goff. All right? That ain't what the bill is.
You're not going to be on that.
Look at no 90 numbers.
No. That's not
55, 92.
the whole defensive line. No. And it's a shame because they deserve a lot of credit. But that's not what it is. And I think Brock Purdy could have an incredible performance this weekend. He's done it before. Yeah. But yes, the concern for everyone this weekend is how are the quarterbacks going to play? Because those are the guys we're going to watch. Those are the guys we're going to critique. Those are the guys we are going to blame, other than the Niners. And that's what it should be. I mean, Brock Purdy is a young player.
2-5, you played on offense. You won a couple Super Bowls. You know what's at stake right here. Is Brock Purdy your biggest concern?
Before I ever answer this, right, because I want to find the right answer. You know, my mom's always tell me, I come home from doing my homework from school, and I would try to find an answer out right away. She's like, oh, let's solve the problem, right? Do the different steps. Minus this, times this, like all them type of things.
Show your work.
Show your work to find the answer. So let's do that for a second. They had 9 Pro Bowlers, right? Is that correct?
All pros.
Yeah, all pros. Yeah.
Oh, I'm tripping. 9 all pros at that, okay?
9 all pros?
7, I think. 7.
I thought it was pro, it's Pro Bowlers. It's 9 Pro Bowlers.
9 Pro Bowlers. Okay. Cowboys have 7 all pros.
So my thing is like, where do you want to search? So let's go to the defense first, right? That's the best part of the team. It's my identity. I like the defensive line. I guess you were about to show you didn't like them. I like them. I like them a lot. Secondary, I like them a lot. The linebackers, I mean, you love them a lot.
I love the linebackers.
And I love linebackers too. The offensive line, I like them. Running back, I love the running back. I love the running back. The wide receivers, though, I love them too.
Yes, sir.
The tight end,
You gotta love them.
Yeah. I love him. What about the kicker? Do you care about him? What are you gonna talk about the kicker?
I'm mad at him still.
It's got to be the quarterback because if you look at it, this team all year have led the league in yards after the catch. So if I throw you a 5-yard pass, but you...
I'm going to get you 25.
No. Let's say you take it 60. Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, yeah.
Screen, right? 2-yard screen to Debo. To I get the credit for that. So we've been giving Brock all this credit. But then when we look at this last game, right? Secondary that covers pretty well, Packers. What do he look like? So how can we even ask who's what's the question again?
Who's the biggest concern?
Yeah, it's one concern. It's the quarterback. And I got to put it on him, man. I've seen too much tape on him. Some games he looks really, really good with that engine, making it go. And then last week, he looked awful.
Yeah.
He had about, 8 plays where he looked really good in that last drive? So all I'm saying is when we talk about who's the biggest concern, it's one position. Because they ain't going to drop no picks. That defense is not that good over there in Detroit. They got to catch picks. We ain't that good. We can't stop them anyway. Let's just get picks. Get the offense on the field. So I'm going Brock Purdy.
Here's why I'm going with the defense. The reason I'm going with the defense is the defense can keep the Lions in the game. When I was watching that game with the Packers, I said...
You're going Lions defense.
No, I'm going...
See what I'm saying? You going...
Wait, hold up, real quick. Nah, this is my allergy. Y'all want this. Say that one more. Say
I'm
it one
going
more
with
again.
the Niners
Niners
defense.
defense.
The biggest concern.
Okay.
What I just said.
It is still, it's really cold in here, so it might be the weather.
The reason I'm going with that Niners defense is because every time it was 2nd and 6, you allow the offense to play ahead of the sticks. So when Aaron Jones had a 4-yard gain, when he had a 6-yard gain, when he had a 5-yard gain, the Packers, do we realize they only allowed the Niners one possession in the first quarter?
Mm-hmm. Really good.
Even if Brock Purdy scores on that one possession, it's just one possession because the Packers' first offensive drive was 7 minutes because they went down the field and 2nd and short, 2nd and short, 2nd and short, 3rd down conversion. In large part, that was because the Niners' run game was far, far, far too lax. When I tell you all they allowed something for the first time in 44 games, that's not a coincidence. As bad as Brock Purdy played, that wasn't his worst game in 44 games. He played worse against the Ravens. So the reason I'm more eminently and more acutely concerned about the Niners defense is because the Niners run defense looked as bad as it's looked to me in a long time, and they're going up against a run offense that is as good as they will face all season, a traditional run offense. I'm not talking about the Ravens run offense where you have a quarterback that's going to run, the figmented run game. I'm talking about a traditional two-back power, lead, counter, gap scheme. So what the Niners did worst last week, I believe the Lions do best.
So basically, you trust Brock Purdy to have a better performance than you trust the Niners' defensive line to have a great performance.
Yes,
you trust not better. You trust Brock to have a great performance more than you trust the Niners' defensive line to have a great performance.
And I'll even say, and y'all know I love the Niners defense, so this will sound blasphemous. Apologizing to Fred Warner ahead of time and in advance. I trust the Niners offense and Purdy to play better than I trust the Niners defense against Goff and them.
Okay, so let me say this, though, real quick, because one thing that's in common, right? When they lose, they had 4 losses this year.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy's numbers and the 4 losses, let me see if I got them here. I actually do. And the 4 losses, he has 3 touchdowns and 10 picks in the 4 losses.
And which one of them games did we blame on him? Just one. Just the Ravens. So that's why for me.
But I'm saying when you look at the way they lose, so I always look at if we're a good team, how can we lose? They call it self-scouting, right? Mm-hmm. You might have your quarterback's not accurate, you got bad defense, you got bad pass defense, whatever it may be.
Turn it over.
So when I watch the Niners, how can you beat this good team Niners?
Got to turn him over.
The quarterback.
Yeah.
Make him turn the ball over because obviously he's going to give you some. That's when they lose. Because when he don't do that, they don't never lose.
Yeah. I guess it's interesting. I'm speaking from my bias as a defender, and I will always acknowledge the vantage point from which I'm coming from. When Joy and Shady watched the Bengals game, they saw Brock Purdy's 2 interceptions. When I watched the Bengals game, I saw Joe Burrow's 400 yards of offense. When I watched the Bengals game as a defender, I saw the fact that the Bengals only punted twice, and they didn't punt until the second half. So I acknowledge, my bias, when I look at football, I look at it from a defensive lens. So when I'm watching the Lions, when I'm watching last week's Niners game versus the Packers, I understand how bad Brock Purdy's playing, and I acknowledge that. I said he didn't play well. But I'm also like, man, Chase Young, if you don't realize this crack toss is coming, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to take it to the crib. There's a wide receiver right here, and he's not there to say hello to you. He is there to crack you as soon as the ball says hut. Yeah. And so I will always acknowledge I'm coming from my bias. But when I watch the Vikings game, I'm like, come on, Wilkes, bro, you let him score right before half. But that's because I've always watched the game of football as a defender, because I played the game of football as a defender. Plus, I have higher expectations of Fred Warner and of Dre Greenlaw and of Travarius Ward and of Nick Bosa than I do of Brock Purdy.
Yeah. And I think that's what it comes down to. I had the opportunity to play with 2 Hall of Famers, two special players in Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and I knew if they didn't play well, we're not going to win. So I can't be concerned, or I can't have pressure over Brock Purdy. That's why nobody ever blames him when they lose, because he's not the best player on the team. If he plays bad, sometimes they might win. If he plays average, sometimes they might win. If the defense plays bad, they're not going to win no football games, no matter how good Brock Purdy plays. So that's why, for me, I can't be concerned about him because, number one, it ain't never his fault. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And number 2, he ain't the best player on his team, not let alone his team is offense. You know, so for me, that's why I say the defense, because it's never on him. And if the defense plays bad, which this defense is built off of, that's what I learned from y'all, which this defense is built off, they win football games. If they don't play, then they lose football games. So that's why it's not on Brock Purdy. And when I watch Josh Allen, I'm like, come on, Josh, you got to make that play. Your team going to lose. When I watch Aaron Rodgers, come on, 12, like, we're going to lose. You wake up. With Purdy, it ain't like that.
Are we going to keep this thing?
Come on, defense. Come on, defense. Hey, Brock Purdy struggling. Let's go. it ain't on him, and that's just how it is. So I can't be concerned about him when, after this game, if he goes out here and he plays average, we're not going to talk Purdy.
Yes,
if they lose this football game, Acho going to come up here on Monday, and he going to say, let me show you Chase Young. He can't give up the edge on this. Look at Jameer again. That's what we're going to talk about. And if he wins the game, Acho going to come up here and he's going to say, ooh, Purdy made some throws that I got you. That's what it's going to be.
Are we going to keep the same energy on Monday? Are we going to talk about how great the defense was against Jared Goff? Or are we going to say that Brock Purdy outplayed Jared Goff?
If the Niners win?
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to say Brock Purdy outplayed Goff.
Yeah.
So then why are we talking about the defense for?
Because if they lose, that's what we talk about.
But
that's not how that works. That's not how that works.
Is it more, do y'all think it's more blessing or curse? Because think about Brock Purdy. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of him.
And he's a good football
But the majority
player.
of the world kind of says it's not Brock Purdy, it's the rest of the team. Is it more blessing or curse for Brock Purdy? Because even if Brock Purdy goes out there and throws for 4 touchdown passes and 350 yards, people will still say it was now screens. Look at the Yak. Look at Debo. Look at Kittle. So Purdy won't get credit by the masses. Obviously, he will by me, but by the masses. And Purdy won't really get blamed by the masses. So, Joy, do you think it's more blessing or curse? Because y'all are right. It's not fair. But in the same breath, Purdy was balling all season, and we questioned his MVP worthiness because of everybody around him. So it's not as though Purdy is the beneficiary of all this. He also has to continue to prove himself, even if he balls.
No, he's contributing to these wins. That's why he's in the MVP conversation, because he plays the most important position and he's playing it at a very high level. The question is, the reason why people are questioning it is when we talk about why they're supposed to win or why they're going to win this game, his name isn't the first name that comes up. It ain't the second, third, fourth, fifth, 15th name that comes up. It's the whole defense that we're talking about before we ever even get to Brock Purdy. So how does Brock Purdy then get the credit when we are saying that the reason that they're going to win is how their defense plays? That just shows you where he's actually positioned. Even people that like Brock Purdy, like you, are talking about the defense first. So blessing or curse, whatever, who cares? If he wins the game, he's playing in the Super Bowl. It doesn't matter what any of us think. That's where he's going to be, and he'll have an opportunity to win the biggest game in the sport. So it truly doesn't matter what the viewpoint is. You are what you are until you're not. So he can play a certain type of way and win the game. And yes, he should give some of that credit to everybody else, because if they lose, the blame doesn't go to him. So until the blame goes to him, the credit can't all the way go to you either. That's just that's how that works.
It's an absolute blessing. Lamar Jackson on Sunday is going to be sitting in that locker room, and if he don't play his best, they lose. Josh Allen last week was sitting in that locker, and if he didn't play their best, where Josh Allen at right now? Right?
But
he missed 1 or 2 throws.
Let me ask you something. Let me push your train of thought forward. Because Lamar Jackson is going to win an MVP about as unanimously as possible off of, Shady, 27 total touchdowns?
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yep.
Brock Purdy had 36, and we're thanking God he didn't win it. Like, the world is like, oh, thank God we ain't got to give this little rinky-dink Purdy Lamar will win an MVP off 27 touchdowns. So, to your point, Lamar will get the curse of if he loses, we will all blame him. But Lamar, nobody's questioning his MVP in this very pedestrian season when he has the #1 defense in football. Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback, and he's been to an AFC Championship game, a championship game less than Brock Purdy, and Purdy's been in the league 2 years, but Josh Allen is still top 3. So we don't question Josh. I think that, too, comes with the territory.
Yeah, and we don't question him because we know Brock Purdy ain't even in their category.
Correct. Correct.
Number 2, we seen Lamar Jackson against the 49ers. And whether he threw 1 touchdown, ran for 1 touchdown, threw 0 touchdown, he was clearly the best player on the football field. We've seen Lamar Jackson all year long, and yes, people want to go straight to stats, but he was clearly the best player on the football field when they took the field to Baltimore Ravens. So for me, that's why he's in the MVP conversation, not just numbers. And then again, you look at the guys that was in, we seen the list. The only person up there with big-time numbers besides a running back, and we know they ain't going to give it to a running back, is Josh Allen. And we know how his team started off. So what Lamar has done consistently this year is why he's in there, but we do know that Brock Purdy is not even in the conversation with the quarterbacks you just said before you said Purdy's name.
Period.
Well,
Let me go to break. I hurt my heart. He said that. I hurt my heart. Too much bass in your voice. Relax.
I'm just saying.
Relax. Get rid of all that baritone, Barry White.
subscribe here to get the latest from Speak, and go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.